which I'm so excited for you to talk about in the Diamond Dash group, about looking at your coaches and their downline and identifying who's really working the business and approaching them about it. So if you're in that Diamond Dash, get ready. It's amazing. But tonight's call is all about how she built this business slowly. And she will say how she built it slowly. But the thing is it's not about building this business so that you reach diamond as soon as possible, go to 1-star and you fall. You know me, I always say build with bricks, not sticks. And you can build this business to a rock solid foundation. And that's what Leslie's going to talk about how, and I think you guys are going to appreciate this because I know you get that frustration. Like, I feel like I should be I should feel like I should be more advanced than where I am now. So she's going to tell her story. If you guys have any questions, just throw it in the chat. And if we have time after, we can ask her a few questions. So Leslie, I'm going to give you the floor. If you could give a little bit of your story, that would be
great. Absolutely. Because I think that just goes. I was going to kind of kick it off, just letting you guys know, I always feel like all of my chats end up more about mindset than teaching you how to do something. Just because I think if your head isn't in the game, if your mind isn't right, it's really hard to build the business that you want. So I always think and that was actually one of my posts today on social media, was about mental toughness. And that's part of why I work out. I don't know about you guys, but I'm doing an 80-day obsession. And I always think as I'm in those workouts and I'm like, oh my God, I hate you, Autumn, and I can't do one more rep. My abs are on fire, or I'm falling over on some sort of weird side plank with bands all over. And I think in that moment, I'm like, this, and I want to give up. I'm like, no, I'm tougher than that. And that's really where that mental toughness comes in all of our workouts. But it's true that mental toughness plays into what we do as coaches. And I'll touch on that a little bit, but this isn't some sort of, yes, the basics of the business are simple, but it's not an easy business. No one literally signs up to become a Beachbody coach because they're excited to hear no every day. Right? Or we have to invite and do scary things like get out of our comfort zone. When a new coach starts, that's not exactly what you're thinking is the most glamorous thing in the world, right? So I want to talk a little bit about becoming mentally tough, and I'll share with you guys my journey and how I've built the business I have, and how, sort of the right mindset has played into that, because I think, to stick this out for 7 years, and I have no intentions of ever going anywhere. In fact, one of the things I talk to about my leaders is building a business that I will eventually be able to hand down to my girls. I think they're almost 8 and 11. I think about what business will I be able to hand them, maybe after college or when they're older, being able to pass them a CBC of mine to, that is the kind of legacy I think about when I think about my Beachbody business. So, gosh, I feel like my story goes back so long ago, and it's so funny. I started as a customer first and with just a program. I was an out of shape mom of 2. Finley was only 6 months old. And I was literally I need to get my life together. I can't even get up off the floor with 2 kids. I'm out of breath. We're eating junk. Something's got to change. And I just envisioned myself as this way more put together mom. And I'm still not all that put together, but at least I'm fitter. So I started with Chalene Extreme, and I just kind of fell in love. I loved lifting. Chalene was that good, little, bird in my ear telling me about, you train like an athlete, eat like an athlete. And, just really kind of filling that side of myself that I had it for a long, long time. And so I started with Chalene Extreme on January 1st of 2011. And I did those first 30 days without Shakeology. I lost 6 pounds. I was still really stoked. I was a breastfeeding mom, And I decided, like kind of interested in Shakeology. So I got a sample from my coach, tried it, loved it. Then proceeded to order a bag off of eBay because I saved about $12. Yeah, I was that girl. We were like on a super strict budget. And my husband was just like, what are you doing now? So I got my Shakeology, started it, and like fell in love with it. The month I added in Shakeology along with the workouts, I lost 12 pounds and I was hooked. And at that point, I started having other moms asking me what I was doing. So I was like, okay, I have two decisions. I can become a coach, or I could send all these people over to my coach. And that would just be stupid because like I might as well get paid, not her. So I signed up as a coach for $39.95 and like literally messaged those two girls back, signed them up, had my first 2 sales, my first day as a coach, like kind of made my investment in that future bag of Shakeology I was going to order back. And I was like, okay, this is sweet. Like I get a discount on products I'm already using. I'm in this for the long haul. I mean, I would love the mindset of a longer program. Chalene Extreme was 90 days, so it was like in that mindset of like, this is a commitment for 3 months, which I love about 80-day obsession for all of our new customers and coaches starting. But I really just had this thought of like, okay, like sweet, I've already got my first paycheck coming. I guess my goal will be to like cover my costs, and then I'd love to make $100 a week. And like that was literally my goal going into the business, was to make $100 a week. At the time, we were living like paycheck to paycheck. We were like struggling to get ahead in bills. We're big Dave Ramsey fans now, debt free. But back then, we were really like struggling to like, we'd get that $1,000 emergency fund saved up, and then like the brakes would go on the car or something in the house would break. So I always felt like we were taking like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. And I was just like, I just want to get ahead. I was not working. I was stay-at-home mom in it. So to me, I was always like doing little things to, be able to pay for Christmas in cash. Like I would sell all this random shit around our house on like eBay or Craigslist. Like I was always up to something. So I don't think it like surprised my husband that I just like took this on and kind of ran with it. But I was like, seriously, like I'm going to make $100 a week. That's $400 extra a month. Like that is no more groceries on a credit card. That is maybe beginning to pay off our debt. I'm going to save up. Like I can get the girls shoes when I need. I could get myself something when I need. Like no more stressing out. Like I'm going to create wiggle room in our budget. And I was just so excited about that. And I think because I was so realistic going in, I didn't really have an upline that was working the business. I didn't really come into any sort of like major training. I was just like kind of getting in and figured it out. In fact, I pretty much figured out the entire business by watching every video I could in the back office and then watching a bunch of videos on YouTube, and was like, okay, let's go. Like that was my training. And I like literally did it while I sat at the kitchen counter nursing my daughter. So it took, and I know Sarah wants me to share all this. So I wanted to become an Emerald coach so bad. I was like, this is a sign that I'm building this business, like that I've like made it. I'm building this team. So I was like, my whole goal was becoming an Emerald coach. And I remember even like, I signed up in February. So I remember like setting this goal for myself in April, still wasn't an Emerald coach 2 months later. I was like, okay, if I hit my goal of being an Emerald coach in April, I found like these cute little tiny like emerald stud earrings that were like $60. And I was like, I'm going to buy them for myself when I hit Emerald in April. Nope, didn't hit Emerald in April. I don't think it was until the end of, about June is when I hit Emerald. Took me 5 months to get to Emerald. But I mean, I just, like, I never quit. I never gave up. I never thought, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Still doing my workouts, Still drinking Shakeology. I was running these little fitness challenges. Like I was just having a blast. You know, I was making friends along the way. I was meeting other moms who were in this. It was so much fun. Like I just never, and true confession, I'm a sapphire through and through. So I never got so wrapped up in the whole, you know, rank advancement or anything that I let it like just take the joy out of what I was doing. So I hit Emerald. And then of course, like your next big goal, you're like, Diamond, coming for you. And I mean, it wasn't one of those things where I was like, Diamond or bust. Like immediately, I was just like, Diamond is the next goal. Like obviously, like it's just going to naturally happen. Like I'm going to sign up more coaches and someone's going to want to do what I do. And I just started getting more consistent at hitting Success Club. Back then, you had to sign up a coach for Success Club to count. So there were like months that I was like at Success Club 5, 6, 7, but not actually counting as hitting Success Club because I wasn't signing coaches in the beginning. But I slowly started figuring it out. In fact, by the end of the year, when challenge packs were introduced, I actually made like one of Carl Deichler's like top challenge pack sales lists. And I was so excited. I was like on his blog. And I remember thinking like, I'm like one of the only Emerald coaches like on this list.
And what's crazy, I have to interrupt, is that Leslie got the CEO award 2 years ago from Carl.
Leadership award.
Leadership award. Like how crazy is it from what you're saying, taking 5 months to get to Emerald, end of the year being mentioned, and then to get this leadership award from Carl. Like he's the one that decides who gets this. So it's just cool to hear the story because it's like a
yeah, I know. Cause it's like all the, like we're talking like this was like back in, well, I didn't hit Diamond for 15 months. It took me 15 months to get to Diamond. So that was in 2012, May of 2012. I became a Diamond coach and I was like so excited. And it was one of those things I always tell everyone, I had like 30 coaches when I hit Diamond. So, I mean, like I had been actively recruiting and like looking, right? And it took me a long time. In fact, my coach, Anita Myron, I'd asked her about coaching a year prior and she freaking told me no. Like not even kidding. Anita was like, no, not interested. I'm getting married. Then she got pregnant.
crazy.
Yeah. Anita told me yes, like almost a year later to the date. And so, anyway, that's just kind of how I built this team. I had 30 coaches and I was like, Emerald, like, where are you? Where are you? And I finally had a couple of girls that were excited. Like they were building the business. They were having fun. They were talking to people. They were making some sales. And, you know, they finally like, I want to go for Emerald. And finally had a couple of girls that just wanted to go for it and help them get to Emerald. I got to Diamond. And then after that, right, I was like, Star Diamond, here I come. But I really had no idea how I was going to do it. Like 2012 was one of those years where I just kept running at it, right? I made Success Club 10 my, you know, non-negotiable. I was asking people if, you know, helping them with their fitness, if they wanted to start a business. Like I was just kind of doing my thing, like having fun doing it too, you know? And I would run little things with my team about coaching. We would do calls. And you guys, like literally, I just became a student of the business. Like I kind of had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I followed Janelle Summers, which if you follow me, like I like fitness, but basically because I get to wear cute workout gear. So I'm totally not like fit like Janelle, but I loved like watching her stuff. And what she was doing, she'd been doing it longer than me. So I saw like she was doing calls with some of her leaders. And they would hop on a call for 20 to 30 minutes and talk about coaching. So I was like, oh, that's so smart. Like, okay, team, we're going to have a call. And I was like, I literally sat one night and recorded everything that Janelle said, like literally pause, write it down, pause, write it down. So I could like kind of follow her format. And then I invited like one of my coaches, like Kelly or Anita, one of my first Emeralds, and was like, we're going to do a call together. And we started just doing calls for our team and inviting other people to join and learn and listen. And slowly but surely, like our team started to grow. Like instead of signing 7 coaches in a week, we were signing 14 and then 30 and then 114. And it just really started to grow. And I finally started to find people that wanted to do what I was doing. So 2013 kind of became this year where everything just happened really fast. I came into 2013 a diamond coach. By April, I was 2-star qualifying. By September, I was 7-star. And at that point, I mean, I remember I had the goal of being a premier coach. I was like, I want to be 2-star and premier by the end of the year. And then all of this had transpired, and it was the first time I ever got a call from corporate. It was like in June of that year, and they were like, you're one of the first coaches to have 100 elite points. Did you even know this? Like, what's going on in your business? No, why has no one talked to you? And I just remember that year prior, when I said I was going to go for premier and 2-star, I sat down in November and I printed off the FAQ of how to like become a premier and elite coach. And I literally sat on a Friday night and read the FAQ. And I made a list of the things I would have to do to be elite and premier. I mean, I didn't have really a team, an upline, like anyone from corporate yet explaining any of this to me. I didn't even know it was out there. So I literally just became responsible for myself and my success. And I went out there and I got it. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think because I came into this business with like no one to really help me or like mentor me, that I just became reliant on myself. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my team to death, but sometimes I'm like guilty of like spoon feeding them. Like, here you go, here's how you do it. And there's something about going out there and slaying your own dragon, like getting it for yourself, that feels really good. And just like a little backstory, I grew up like, I think that's something really to be mentioned. And I've talked about it before in a couple of posts, but I grew up in a really strict household. My dad was like very strict, expected a lot. There was no sleeping in on weekends. There was like helping around the house, things we had to do, good grades were expected. Like my parents expected a lot out of my sister and I. And if we didn't perform, there was like hell to pay. And I mean, I think from the beginning, it was just my parents' way of putting like a good work ethic on us. My dad was, essentially his own boss. And so I think that trickled down to us kids that, if you want something, you're going to have to work for it. You want something, you're going to have to work for it. Like I remember the first time I wanted like $60 pair of jeans. My mom was like, well, you're going to have to buy that with your own money. Damn right. I bought those $60 Gerbeau jeans like a couple months later. So, I mean, it was one of those things, like, I even think about that today, like with my own kids, like, every morning they make their bed and they pick up their outfits and they pick up the rooms. And I'm still like, yeah, we have someone that does our laundry, but I definitely like, there are things they have to do around the house. And I think that's so important because they truly think you can teach work ethic. Because I don't think anything in this life is ever just given to you. I've always had to work for whatever we have, be it our house, our paid off cars, our bills, or whatever we have. I've had to work really hard for it. So it makes me appreciate what we have. So I thank my parents for that. Thank you. But it made me come into this business with that same thought that like anything that I want to have in this business, I'm really going to have to work for it. I've never had any sort of situation where anything was ever just like handed to me, like, here's your magical downline. Nope. Mm-hmm. I had zero volume in both legs. I'm building essentially in a dead spot. Mm-hmm. I never came into like a situation where anything was just, put in my lap. I was not one of those kids that was like uber brilliant in college or high school. I had to work for good grades, like a lot. And it like that kind of stuff didn't come easy to me. I wasn't like a perfect test taker. I was not an A student. I was never on the dean's list for the honor roll, any of that shit. I was just not like clear disclosure. I had to like work really hard to be a B student because otherwise I was like a C-ish student. You know what I mean? So I eventually found like my niche and my niche in college with a major in communications, but it wasn't like in communications, like just to clarify, I graduated in 2000. Degrees in communications back then mean nothing like today. Like people like, oh, you have a background in communications and marketing. And I'm like, yeah, from 2000 people, this is 2018. Like people now graduate with degrees in like social media. Yeah, I didn't have that. So it was one of those things where I just like decided to dig in and make this business work for me. Like whatever I wanted, I knew I was going to have to go out and get. So the fact that I didn't hear from corporate until I was basically like a 7-star diamond, I wasn't mad at that. In fact, when they finally like came into my life, I was like, oh yay, someone I get to pick your brain.
So actually, how did you go from like, I love that you said you were enjoying the process. I think that's a big thing. You put that pressure of, I got to hit Success Club. I got to get to the next rank advancement. I got to go to this. Like, I love that you enjoyed it because I think that some people lose that. And once you lose that, you're out. I think you're out. You're checked out. You're not enjoying it. So what did you do? Like, where was the work ethic as far as like you were enjoying this? And then it was like, okay, I got to sit down and, you know, taking time in the morning or at night or in the afternoon, or when did you go, okay, this is a business? Like, here we go.
I guess I thought it was always a business from the beginning. Like to me, if it was going to pay me $100 a week, business,
right.
You know, and I just started, for me in the beginning, it was nap time and nighttime always. You know, I had 2 little kids. So nap time and nighttime. As things got busier, you know, my daughter was in preschool, so I would have like 2.5 hours in the morning when my other daughter like would take a nap. So, I mean, I just basically worked in pockets. I'm still a list person to this day, like just proof. And I'm totally like a handwritten list person. But I just got smart about how I worked, and I definitely like had systems in place. Like I said, we would do a call about coaching. I was posting and sharing my journey. You know, I was keeping lists of who I was talking to, who I'd invited, who I'd said no, who I was following up with next month. Just got smart about how I worked. And then it was dividing time. You know, especially as my team grew, I needed to spend time, of course, building my own business, asking people about coaching, asking people about health and fitness. But then I also needed to spend time with my coaches, teaching them how to ask people about coaching, ask people about health and fitness. So some of that was, you know, in team calls, or, you know, I created like this training. We had like a new coach training before there was a new coach training and stuff that I wrote for my team. So just things like that, you know, to get them engaged and learning about the basics of the business. Because really at the end of the day, I never felt like this business was like super complicated. I do think we make that sometimes. But I mean, really it was like, share about your journey, invite people to join you, share about your journey, invite people to join you. And so I just kind of ran with that. And that's what I always, you know, taught my team. And some coaches, like, if they just embraced that and ran after it, were actually like really, really successful.
Yeah, because I think you're right. A lot of time, once we start that way, and then we get in muddy waters because we kind of take our blinders off and see what other coaches are doing, and we think, should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? And I remember when Kortes and I first like connected, and I saw she did a leaderboard, and I had never done a leaderboard, and I was like, should I do that? And she had said to me, your business is growing, Sarah. Just do what you're doing. Don't worry about it. A leaderboard isn't going to bring you more business right now. When you're able to, do that. But I think that that's one of the most important things, is that just don't overcomplicate it. Show up every day on social media. Just, you know, that's such a huge, important thing, to just show your presence and show your authenticity. Like, I love how, and I'm sure they're all going to say that, but Leslie, you're just like a normal mom doing your thing. And this is kind of how it transpired. And this is fun. Okay. I want to get, 2 coaches on board, and now superstar diamond coach, like very successful. But, they might look at you like you're up here, but you were right here too. It's just that slow road that brought you to where you were, that you probably don't look back on the 7 years going, I wish I did it faster. Because it sounds like you enjoyed the process of getting to where you needed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, over 7 years, you guys, I've had more than one transformation, more than one setback, more than one major life event. I mean, life has happened a lot in the past 7 years. And I just think that, any great business is built in the middle of chaos, is built in the middle of life, not in the absence of it. I always laugh when people tell me like, oh, I'll be ready to start next month after whatever. And I'm like,
you're never ready. It's like challengers.
I wish I'd had that choice. Like, to me, I wish I would have just started sooner. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's been a fun ride, and I honestly wouldn't change any of it.
That's awesome.
Because I've learned so much from like every setback and stumbling block. And I have set goals that I have totally missed and hit maybe like a year later. I remember when I was going for Superstar, I was so like hell bent on my deadline, and I totally did not hit it. I hit 13 and then I fell to 11, and it took me like another 9 months maybe to put together Superstar Diamond. And I never thought, screw this, I just give up. I just kept running at it, like knowing that it eventually would happen. And I've had coaches that have done it quicker, and there are coaches who have done it slower. And I think at the end of the day, if you just like kind of embrace that it's your journey, like I never saw that there was like a competition with another coach, because there was always going to be like your own story that resonates with someone else.
And I think that's true with, I always try to tell my team that it doesn't really matter what somebody else is doing, because at the end of the day, at least for me, all that matters to me is the people that are in this house and what I'm doing with them, because somebody else's success does not hinder my success or inhibit my success. So if you can be inspired by that, it's like a scale. If you get on the scale and you hate it, don't get on the scale, But if you hate seeing these coaches over and over in their success, then hide them or unfollow them, or don't get intimidated by it. That's their story, and it doesn't have to be yours.
Yep. And I did that for a little while I was like really focused on building like just Superstar. I did unfollow a lot of coaches that I felt like I was like spending way too much time like leering at their newsfeed going like, oh, what else should I be doing? Like, you know what? Like, no, just do what works for you. And so I did unfollow a lot of coaches during that time, and some I've since refollowed, because I don't feel like, and now I feel like I've been around so long. I'm like, give me all the new inspiration.
My coach, Melissa, she wants to know, how do you help new coaches build their confidence to run challenge groups?
Confidence is one of those things that I really think comes like with time and with like a workout for me. Like, I know like my confidence was like here when I started Chalene Extreme, and like a month later I was like, so there's the working out piece and the eating good piece and the Shakeology piece. Like all of a sudden you just feel like $1 million. And I love to see that change in my challengers in the group too. Like you can tell when all of a sudden, like week 2, week 3, week 4, they're like killing it, right? They're like posting for me and I don't have to do as much. But I will have new coaches be in a challenge group with me. And so like all of my December and January coaches are currently in my challenge group. And if they had customers who are interested in joined or bought a pack or whatever with them, they're welcome to join too. One, just so that they can be in there basically as like a coach apprentice. basically is my sidekick, like helping me run the group. So they kind of get their feet wet, but they also get to stand up and lead within the group too. Confidence, again, like I just think it's one of those things, like it's a little bit like practice, right? Like I never had anyone help me run a challenge group. I just figured that shit out.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit practice. And then like, I just think if you're on your own journey, like it just starts to exude from you. Like,
and like I was going to say, and like what, I always try to think like, what could I do in my challenge group today that would make me want to check in with the group, that I would get excited about? Because if I think stuff's boring, I'm not going to show up.
So I'll give you guys a couple of fun things that I do that I think work. I do have the challenge tracker going right now for all of my 80-day obsession girls, but I do have a lifetime ongoing Facebook group that I use. And we have a lot of fun in there, and everyone is welcome in there if they have bought or Shakeology or Energize or whatever, because I was the girl that bought Shakeology on eBay, so I never discount anyone. I'm like, if you get something, welcome. So I do a check-in post every night, and I do it like a poll. So I'll say like, Monday night check-in, tell me how today went. And then I do all these poll options, like got my Shakeology in, fit in a workout, drink tons of water, ate more veggies, tried a new food. Like I'll think up all these different things, and then it's a poll. So on their poll, they can go through and just check like, yep, I worked out. Yep, I drank my shake. Yep, followed my time nutrition. Like they can check all the boxes. I don't know what it is about checking boxes, but they love it. And then one other fun thing I do on a Friday, I call it Fuck Yeah Friday, and they have to tell me their best moment of the week. And so the fun thing about that is it's all different things, like my son slept through the night, or I'm down a pant size, or I lost 6 pounds this week. Like it's all different things, but because they all get to chime in and share their best moment of the week, I found it really adds like to the camaraderie of the group. Like they're all kind of cheering each other on, like, oh my God, you lost 6.5 inches this week. How did you do that? Or they kind of like help each other out, which is fun.
Okay. April wants to know, do you have a constant as to how many times per month you do inviting to the coaching opportunity, either personally through messages or a general post to everyone? Also, any key words in the discussions you have that help hook others' interests? Wow. There you go for that, Leslie.
Okay, thanks. So I'm still trying to figure out what the heck is going on with my Facebook like page, but I've actually been having really good luck on Instagram. So that is where I've been doing all of my coaching calls to action. They're occasionally on my feed. If you go catch them, I do them probably weekly, and I try and tie a lot of life into fitness business. But I also will do it right in my Instagram stories. So I will talk a lot. Like I even talked tonight about hopping on this call, and, well, I had like no makeup on and my hair looked like a hot mess. And I was talking about like, that's basically how I built this business. So, I mean, I talk a little bit about that on there. I also have an application that I use. So sometimes I'm like telling people to like DM me or swipe up and fill out the application. And then I'll continue, go from there to send them more information. Personal invites to coaching. I have been doing this a little bit through my Facebook like page after I build a relationship. So a message goes out to new gals on my like page, basically just saying like, thank you for following me, and asking them if they're on a health and fitness journey too. When they respond, we just chat back and forth a little bit, oh, they've lost 20 pounds. How'd you do it? That's amazing. Right? I'm just looking to be friendly, not spammy. I add them as a friend because now I'm able to see their stuff. And because we're now friends, I can learn a little bit more about them. I can go comment on their cute picture of their baby, or, respond about what type of birthday cake they should order for their husband, or whatever is on their page. And just, right, like, you're not going to get rid of the friend who's like commenting on your stuff and like is totally fun. So I just try and like build that relationship, that rapport a little bit. And then I typically am looking for something like that says you would be an amazing coach, or perhaps they see a call to action about my next upcoming challenge. And because they like know me now, they feel like they know me, they're way more apt to say yes. Same thing on Instagram. I will write down like people that I feel like I really like connect with. I'm like, ooh, she's like my girl, right? I'll write their name down. Now I can go back. I can make sure to, you know, like some of their photos. I'm commenting. I'm not just like, I don't know. I've never been one of those that's just like sending out random messages like, hey, have you ever considered doing what I do? I mean, I'll use that with challengers and I'll use that with people that I have a relationship with, but I just don't send that in DMs to all the cute fit girls on Instagram because they've heard it 1,000 times. Like, you have to be able to like stand out a little bit. You
and
know
plus,
what I mean?
you're
And
picking.
like
I
come
love
across as like a normal person.
Mm-hmm. Like you're picking your tribe. Like, I don't know if that girl, nope, can't identify with her. She might be fit as whatever, but we can't even, yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, obviously I do calls to action on my Instagram stories and I've had a really good luck with that. But yeah, and some of it's just kind of like figuring out what works for you. I would have never thought I'm going to be 40 this year. I was like, I'm too old for Instagram, but it's working.
Come on, I'm going to be 42, Leslie.
Yep.
It works. It's all in what you're portraying. And it's important. I want to just go back to what Leslie said. I feel like I'm Jeff Hill in the friggin' National Wake Up Call. Let's go back to what she said. But she said, you know, that when you do build those relationships and you are talking. So if I'm talking to Lauren and I'm thinking, God, she'd be an amazing coach. And now we're friends. And I'm commenting on her stuff. She comes back to my stuff. She's going to naturally see that I'm posting about, you know, I do this and the coaching opportunity. But if you're not posting that stuff, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you do. I don't know anything. But what's happened with me is that when I build these relationships, like Leslie said, it's people going, wait a minute, what is this exactly that you do at home? I mean, guys, I've told you this before, I have a Peloton, but I'm in the Peloton group. I love my Peloton. I don't only do Beachbody. I know it's crazy, but people don't only want to do Peloton. They're like, wait a minute, I could do this for a whole year for $160 when I'm paying $40 a month on the bike. That's awesome. I totally would do that. So don't limit yourself to thinking, oh, that's like a, you know, CrossFit people or whatever. If you're open-minded and they see what you're doing, they're more apt to say, hey, you do the Peloton and you do this, or hey, you do, you know, you run and you do this. Like, it's not an all or nothing, but they're going to see it, but you have to post about it. Like, you have to be talking about it on your page. Like, you know, some days I don't feel like going to the gym, so I do this real quick. Like, I think that makes you a little bit more real than the ones that, you know, are only sucked into Beachbody and that's all they'll do. That's all they'll preach. Like, I've told you guys before, I drink these BCAAs and no, it's not Beachbody, but I get a lot of conversation starters from that you can, you know, talk about a lot of different things that it just doesn't have to be Beachbody. I think that's what we get. We put the Beachbody hat on. I'm a Beachbody coach. Here's my Shakeology bottle. Don't you want to join me? And it's like, like this.
Right. Like, yeah, figure out what your niche is or what, you know, makes you relatable.
Amen. All right. Well, Leslie, I'm going to let you go because I know we had a call this morning too. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to be.
I know. I've seen you twice today.
Woo! I looked a little better then. Now it's like I'm taking kids running around religion and dance and gymnastics and everything crazy. So you will see Leslie in the Diamond Dash if you're in that group. Thank you so much, Leslie, for coming on. I appreciate
Thank you guys for having me.
Stay warm.
Will do. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
See ya.